We saved a life today. That's from Susan Pine, who is the target of a federal lawsuit by the United States Attorney General Eric Holder. We're going to be talking about it today on Faith and Freedom. I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. And Matt, this is from West Palm Beach, Florida. Mary Susan Pine is an individual that Liberty Counsel represents. She is a sidewalk counselor, an older lady. And in fact, for the last 20 years, she spent virtually every Saturday. It's hard to believe that someone would be so dedicated, and she has been that dedicated to saving lives. And she has spent nearly every Saturday for 20 years in front of an abortion clinic, most recently the Presidential Women's Center in West Palm Beach. She counsels women, giving them information on alternatives to abortion, and she has become the target of a federal lawsuit. She just sent us an email, and in the subject line it says, "We saved a life today," and we're going to be talking about it today.
Yeah, wonderful news. We always bring so much bad news here, but this is kind of a bittersweet story in that Susan Pine, as you mentioned in the opening monologue, is under assault by Attorney General Eric Holder by the Department of Justice for her pro-life activities. I guess Eric Holder has found some free time from putting guns in the hands of Mexican warlords who are killing American agents, and now has decided to target elderly women, elderly pro-life women. But unbelievably trumped up case against Susan, and it is clearly trying to use her as an example to tell other pro-life advocates that the Department of Justice will bring the full weight of the federal government if you don't, if you step even slightly out of line.
Well, Susan's dedication has made her a target of Eric Holder and the Department of Justice. And in fact, on the same day or within the same week, the Department of Justice some months ago filed these so-called FACE, or Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances federal law suits against several pro-lifers to try to intimidate them. Well, Liberty Counsel immediately came to the defense of Susan Pine, and we're defending her. We'll get to the specific story of what she recently said about "we saved a life today," but it really underscores the just pro-abortion radicalism of this particular administration. That's why they hate someone like Susan Pine. Susan has become, like I said, a target of the Attorney General, and the Attorney General filed a lawsuit seeking to fine her thousands of dollars and to permanently eject her from a public sidewalk. She's not blocking access outside of this clinic because she supposedly obstructed a car. Now, that's what's in their complaint. And what they actually say is that the car was just temporarily stopped. Susan, she's allegedly, they say, was walking across a sidewalk that has an entrance. This is an obvious, bogus political prosecution. Susan doesn't even remember the situation, and even if it were true, it was just for a brief moment as she's walking across this entrance to this particular area. And she doesn't even go in that area where this entrance is. She goes in a different area. And what they ultimately have admitted so far in this lawsuit is that they don't even have a victim because no one has ever complained against her. So there is no victim that they are representing, no complaints. The phantom car supposedly obstructed by Susan was attempting to enter the parking lot illegally through a one-way exit that Susan did nothing more than use to simply mark or to cross the way, allegedly, even if it's true.
Yeah, clearly a pretext in order to use the weight of the federal government to intimidate this woman and to use her as a target and as an example to other pro-life advocates, saying, hey, if you go counsel women out in front of an abortion clinic, you may either face prison time or severe fines, or you're going to face the wrath of the federal government. This is Chicago-style strong-arm politics of this Obama administration. It's taken to the national level.
It's really a shame. You made this contrast between these fast and furious gun-running things. We're going to see people, American security forces, die in the future. We've already seen one. From this illegal activity of giving guns, or this just horrendous activity. And then on the other side of the coin, they're filing these bogus lawsuits to silence pro-lifers. Susan, however, is not going to be silent. She spoke recently to a young woman, an unmarried college student, boy and girl that was coming there. They came to have an abortion. Susan taught them that each life is precious. When the dad said that the baby would interfere with his education, Susan told him to man up and take responsibility for the life he created. A clinic escort and a police officer hired by the clinic interrupted Susan's consensual conversation. She was having just a consensual conversation with him, as they often do. The escort then physically took the mother into the abortuary. The mom started crying, and her cries got louder as they disappeared inside the clinic. Susan and those with her started to pray for the life of the child and the hearts of the parents, and shortly thereafter the parents came back outside and said that Susan's words had persuaded them to save the baby. This is what Susan does every Saturday and has done so for 20 years. This is what Eric Holder and the Department of Justice want to shut down.
Well, that's exactly right. In the eyes of the radical pro-abort who worship at the altar of choice, and of course that's a euphemism. If you make the wrong choice, if you just choose not to have an abortion, then prepare to have the radical feminists lambaste you. But here she is, an elderly woman, an older woman, going in there with the courage, even with facing a prosecution from the federal government, still has the courage to stand there to speak truth to these young people, unashamedly, boldly, and it sounds like she struck a nerve with this young man, telling him to man up. And that's exactly, she is absolutely right. We are in a culture now where men have abandoned, the sexual revolution and radical feminism is supposed to have liberated women. What it has done is it has given men, young men, a pass. They're no longer held accountable for their own actions. So who suffers? Women and children and men out there. And, any man who is a pro-abort needs to man up himself.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And those words just got to the parents, and obviously the prayer changed their hearts. And so they've now left the abortion clinic. They did not abort their child, and they have been getting help that they need to care for the baby during this delivery process that they're going through. So this is an amazing story. This is one, you just never know how many people are walking this earth or will walk this earth because of Susan and people like her across the country that are dedicated to the cause of life. Susan is not someone who comes to this because of a theoretical mental assent to pro-life. She's someone who has had a personal experience of having abortion herself. And she regretted it after she had the abortion. So she took the life of her own child, believing the lie that the media and the Planned Parenthood people portray, that this is just a woman's choice, it's a great thing to do, you'll not regret it. And she ultimately regretted it. And she has changed that not to self-destructive ends, but to a very positive goal of helping others.
Any way you slice it, this will save the life of a child. And I challenge any pro-abort, any pro-abortionist to question that. This saved this little baby who will now have life, and it's very, very encouraging. And people need to understand, women need to understand, who have committed the sin of abortion, homicide, need to understand that there is forgiveness, there is redemption for that sin offered through the blood of Jesus Christ. Susan has accepted that forgiveness, and now the Lord is using all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. He is using that horrible sin that she committed and what she went through in order to now reach out to other women, using it for good to save lives.
That's exactly right. Well, keep Mary Susan Pine in your prayers. In our case, where we're defending her against the United States Department of Justice, we'll keep you informed of that as we go through 2012. Also, we've got a book here by Dr. Judith Reisman, and it is called Sexual Sabotage. If you want to figure out where all of this sexual revolution, abortion, same-sex marriage, a lot of the roots actually began. It begins with Alfred Kinsey. She is an expert in this area, and I would encourage you to read the book, Sexual Sabotage. You can get it by going to Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org. Remember Liberty Counsel this year, in your prayers and financial support, you can become a regular contributor to Liberty Counsel by going to the website, lc.org. You can obtain the Liberty Alert email, and the Liberator newsletter. Go to Liberty Counsel's website today, lc.org.